Okay, so we're going to look at coloring your floor plan on trace paper. And I have Robert's plan. And I have a little test plan here. And the first thing I did was test out some of my markers. I like to use neutral colors for just adding a little bit of pop to the floor plan. So I have an assortment of these Copic markers. I have an assortment of Prismacolor markers. And my old favorite used to be the chart pack markers, the ones that look like these, but they've all sort of disappeared. So I went through all the Copics that I had and decided to try out a few of them. So this little bathroom I colored with this clay and cool gray number 5, and then did the shadows with cool gray number 9. So let me pull those 3 out again. So I have clay and cool gray 5 and cool gray 9. So I'll probably add, since I'm going to color a larger area, I'll add one more. I'll bring in the sand color too, just for a little bit of variety in the floor color. And that should be fine. 4 or 5 colors is usually plenty. So I'm going to take this plan. So this is a rough sketch, so it's a good one to practice on. And there's a couple ways to go about this. One is to, and probably the way I'm going to do it, is I'm actually going to turn the paper over on the back side, and I'm going to color all the flooring here. Also, none of the walls here are pochade, and that's okay because it's a rough sketch. But if I wanted to finalize it and clean it up a little bit, I'd probably go in and pochade the walls after I'm done as well. So starting on the back side, maybe I'll look at it for a second on the front, make some design decisions here. So I'm going to use the clay or the sand colors for the flooring, and it's very likely I could have the same flooring throughout this entire condo, but I'm going to make an assumption that I'm going to change the floor up, maybe at least in the bathrooms. Yeah, maybe at least in those areas. So I'll go ahead and do the clay color on the rest of the floor, and then I'll do the sand color in those wet areas. And it could be anything. It could be wood, it could be laminate, it could be floating floor, it could be anything. So the other decision to make is when I turn it over to go ahead and lay the color down, is if I want to go over the furniture or go around the furniture. So I usually will go over it in most cases, but if I want a little bit of variety, maybe I'll switch it up. Like, it would be really hard to go around these chairs, so I probably won't. And I'm going to take this tip end here and just make a couple of lines where I decided I was going to have some flooring transitions. So that sort of isolates that area. And then everything else will be this clay color, and I will make some decisions, like it will be easy to go around the sofa, so I may decide to leave that white, or maybe some of these areas white, and then as I go over it on the other side, it'll appear like it's a different color. So I'm going to take the fat end of the marker and just lay color down. I'm even going over the plant. Maybe that'll be my exception for bringing in some kind of green. So I'm going right over the dining room furniture.
The lines are so straight.
Yeah, it's, again, it kind of gets, you get in a habit of going back and forth. And where I have these little white marks, like really tiny ones, I could go back and lightly go over it with that fine end. But it's good to practice. And I've tried all the different markers. Even just now I tried the Prisma over here, and you can see how it puddles a little more. I actually think these puddle a lot more, and these used to be my favorite. So these are the Copic, yeah. The Chart Pack were my favorite. They were my go-to. But I think I found a new marker love. So I'm not going to worry too much like I'm going into the wall a little bit over here because I can fill that in with black.
I'm guessing it's called Poche because Maria called it Pache.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
I've always said Poche.
I think it's Poche.
Yeah. And I had a student who I used to drive her crazy because I always spelled it wrong, and I would spell it like pouch.
How do you spell it?
Poche, but I always put a U in it. Isn't that nice?
So good.
Oh, they're so straight.
She has such a straight hand. It's really
And like the line is
frustrating.
fitting into these.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
plan's
like,
nice
it's
and
not really
geometric,
fair.
so it's
Yeah.
working out really well. So
It's like really
I'd have to
stressful.
decide, like I already kind of went over the chair, so I might keep going. So I'll finish this side. I don't want this to be a super long video, but
Oh, are we
you can
filming?
edit. Yeah,
We'll be quiet.
you don't have to. It's interactive. I'm only putting it on our private Canvas site. It's not going,
Public.
well, it will be on YouTube, I guess, but not on a public channel. I'll go in there since I'm over here. And I could go through the wall because I'm going to color it in with black.
So you just go right over the furniture.
Yeah, so in this case, maybe I'll go around it because I have a little space in here.
Gotcha.
And what that does is it gives you a little variety when you go over it with on the other side. So I'm coloring the flooring on the back side of the plan, and then I'll color the furniture on the front side of the plan. And we're working on trace paper, so it's not necessarily made to soak in color like a marker paper would.
Right.
So these markers might look totally different on a marker paper. They're just going to absorb the color a little bit better. So now when I turn that over, it looks even better. It's
Yeah.
hard to see on the projector,
looks
but
really good.
this
Really
camera
good.
records really
Looks like
nicely.
wood floor.
Yeah, yeah, and you could even put some little indication of that in there. And I'll grab this Cool Gray 5. I like the cool grays because I usually use a warm tone for the floors. And then when you have a warm tone and put cool on top, it kind of turns warm anyway. So, so I could go over now on this side and just go over the furniture. So it adds a little bit of color. And we'll go over this is before we right-sized this dining table, right, Robert?
Oh, yes.
It's like a rug with meditation cushions. That's what it is.
He's a big family.
They eat a lot of food.
It's Thanksgiving every day.
Nice. But then like how different it will look on
Oh.
the area that we left it off. So you've gotten another color out of the marker. So it's one reason I didn't have you go out and buy markers. Like, see which ones you like.
Yeah, I did.
Well, yeah.
I shouldn't have though.
Nope.
Well, sometimes it's just fun to buy supplies, so you're gonna get carried
get a little
away, right?
Yeah, crazy.
Even my daughter said that. Mom, I can't wait to go school supply shopping.
It was
Oh
like
my
my
god, that
favorite
was
thing to
my
do.
favorite thing to do as a kid.
Me too.
Get like different pens, glitter
I never
gel
really used
pens.
them. It's okay.
We all like collected glitter gels and we had little cases.
Little
That's
I had
so
a file
fun.
box. Remember those? Like an organizer. And we would like put stickers on.
I had a trapper
No,
keeper.
it's so funny. Different schools
Me
have
too.
like their
It was like
different
the
like
trend.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Our thing was the pen chase with
So you get some different.
billion.
You're getting some different looks out of the same marker. Yeah, this is that Cool Gray 5. So wherever I've left it white, it's going to look a lot lighter and cooler. And then wherever I've colored over it in the back. So you can make some decisions like, okay, maybe my case goods are one color, my poster goods, or maybe just simply the decision I made was what furniture is going to be easier to go around. Because we weren't really designing this with a lot of that color in mind yet, but we want the plan to pop off the page and we don't want to be afraid to add color. And then I'll just add a little bit of an implied shadow.
I thought you had done sometimes where it's like much
Thank you.
looser, like where you're just kind of, I don't know, maybe I saw it
Wasn't
online.
me.
Yeah, it's just a photo.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many techniques. And with this one, I'm just taking the marker around like 2 edges. So I'm not going to necessarily do, you know, a sun study and decide where the light's coming in the window. I'm just going to make an assumption that maybe we've capped this plan at 4 feet and the sun, you know, direction's coming in on the overall plan. So maybe I'll add shadow to like the bottom and the right edge of all the pieces and just be consistent with it, and that sort of makes it pop. So I'll use that end.
How do I draw it? Like,
And there's definitely more, you know, scientific ways to do it, but
yeah, we'll definitely do that one. Yeah.
it'll start to get some dimension, right?
Yeah.
This video will have sound, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just in case, you know, some
So I might need like just that edge.
Yeah, it really does look like that.
Yeah, so it starts to pop. It starts to get some dimensionality to it.
Very cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So thank you. I love coloring you guys' floor plans.
So you just pick one side, kind of?
Right, and then just sort of stay consistent with it.
That looks so good. His plan is like perfect.
It's a nice plan.
For example, on
but like
this
his
side-
drawings are like really good.
Would you do the same? Because the windows, I mean, kind of has to make sense, right? And the windows will
Well,
be really
I'm
far.
not doing it as like the light. I'm assuming like it's a drawing, it's a representation. So a floor plan is a representation of walls up to 4 feet, right? And below. So I'm kind of treating it like I've taking a horizontal cut through the floor plan and the light's shining on it. So it's going to just be one
I see, I
direction.
see.
So I'm not necessarily doing it as a rendering with the light, natural light coming in through the window.
Okay, so you will do the same here.
I would
for
do the
example,
same,
on the ba- okay.
yes. So I could even, you know, do shadows first, but I kind of like to leave them till the end. And then I was going to go back in this room. I was going to do the same floor. This room I was going to switch to the sand color. Yeah. And the fat side again. And in the kitchen, it's easy to leave the cabinets out if they're nice and square like that. And it's just a big space, but I'll go back for it.
Which one do you use for the
And I'm only
transitions?
going over one. Oh, I just went over it with this light pen
with-
and marked them like that.
Okay.
So I could go in these, I could go through the walls because ultimately I would color the walls black, but it's easy enough to lift up in this case. And I'm on the back side. Same in here. This way my fixtures will show up. Have to go around the toilet a little bit. But these markers are nice because they're not really puddling. And that's a lot of times the problem with marker on trace is you get to the end and you have a puddle at the end. Going through the toilet on this one.
So these are good too, right? These are the ones that I got last semester.
The Prismas, yeah, a lot of people like the Prismas. These are the Copics. And there's a couple other brands. There's some students that found ones they like on Amazon. You can look in the closet and see what that is. So that just gives it a little bit different. And maybe, you know, since I have the markers, I could go down and do something a little bit lighter on the kitchen counters. And the 3 is really light, like almost you don't even see it. So I don't know if I like that much or not, but it might be fine. Let's go this way.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's really nice and
You
light.
can't actually see it. It's nice.
So I added 1, so now I have a total of 5, and that's about all I would do. I think I'd even just leave the plants the way they are. I mean, if it really bugs you, you could even take a little green pencil or something and throw a little color in it. But we don't need to mimic too much
Did you do this on the
texture.
back?
I did. I did all the floor on the back because the trace tends to smear too.
Okay.
So I'm only basically doing 1 layer. Sometimes
Okay.
when you're doing marker work, you'll do multiple layers, but on trace, I only recommend 1. So that's a way to get 2 layers, is putting 1 layer on the back,
Oh,
1 layer on the
okay.
front, and then they don't like turn muddy together.
Are you gonna do the shadowing on the kitchen stuff, or would you not?
Yeah, I still would.
Okay.
I
And
would
then
still
what
grab
color
the-
would you end up doing this?
I think I would do it the same, the clay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep the video shorter, but what the heck? Why bother, right? This one gets a little tricky. We just have this little toilet side of the toilet, right? And then we're in the laundry room at this point, so. Maybe that.
Perfect.
Yeah, maybe that. Just light. Like if you think like, oh, I gotta keep going over it, that's when you'll tend to just be too heavy on it. So it's just enough to give it a little bit of dimensionality.
I love it.
Fun stuff.
It looks
Super
so
fun.
good.
Like, the same amount of